Hey everyone, and welcome to this Shine School interview where I'm featuring the gorgeous Lori Harder. She is a leader in facilitating transformation through mindfulness, fitness, and self-love. She helps people lock in their transformation by teaching how to create lasting relationships that support their goals long-term. As a successful entrepreneur running 2 7-figure businesses, hey girl, network marketer, professional, #1 selling author, Tedx Speaker, 10-time cover model, holy shit, and 3-time fitness world champion, she offers a carefully curated set of practical tools to promote sustainable health, spiritual well-being, and emotional thriving. I can't even begin to list all the credentials that she has, from Top 100 Earn Your Happy podcast that she's had 7 million downloads. She's started A Tribe Called Bliss, an amazing book that has hit the shelves on fire. She has the Bliss Project event, and she's been seen on Oxygen, Strong Fitness Magazine, and a million other. It's like, I don't even have enough words to share how impressive you are, Lori. So I just want to say congratulations for all that you've accomplished and put out into the world, because we need more women who are willing to take leadership roles and lead with love. And I believe that you embody that. You're like girl power. If girl power had a poster, it would be you, sister.
Oh my God. Well, thank you for that. And I always love to, I love that we're doing a podcast, because I think it's so great and important to hear the backstory before all of that. And by the way, that was all done over like a 10-year span. So
yeah, you know, they say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. And that is so true, because I constantly find myself remembering, people who meet me today don't know who I was 10 years ago. 200 pounds. I hated myself. I had short black hair. I was a hot mess. And so many people quickly judge you in the present, which is a good thing, because you can leave your past behind, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about how our past influences, our behaviors in the moment and in the future. So I heard this podcast where you were talking about when you were a little girl and you were at a pool party, someone was making fun of you for being fat or overweight. And it just resonated with me so much, because when I was a little girl, my uncle called me Brickney. And I had this belief that I was fat, even though I wasn't at 8 years old. And I carried that belief, and it dictated my actions. And I ended up being 200 pounds. So tell me about that experience and how that shaped your entire life, because you've been a 10-time cover model and world fitness champion. So it must have sparked something inside of you that wanted change.
Well, okay. Thanks for that. And thanks for sharing your experience too, because I think so many of us share that and we don't actually go all the way back. And I think it's really important, because that's those moments that really mold us. And also to go back and look at what motivated you then may not work for you anymore. And that's my case for sure. So I read this quote this morning in Rachel Hollis's new book, actually, Girl Stop Apologizing. And it said, and this was it's a Brene Brown quote, but it said, guilt is feeling bad about something you did. Shame is feeling bad about who you are, actually not wanting to be who you are. And I think for me, that moment when I was on the diving board and people were making fun of me, and it wasn't just people, it was my friends, the only friends that I had known. And it was this moment of, how can I love this body that I'm in if I'm so ashamed of it? And this is, such a young age for me to look down and be like, I can't love who I am. I'm ashamed of who I am. And from that moment, it was so incredibly painful, because I didn't feel close to anything. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel attached to anything. I couldn't find safety. And I think as a kid, safety is one of our biggest things that we want to feel. And I jumped in the water, and I remember being under the water just thinking, I had a moment of, oh my God, I don't want to come back up. These are thoughts of an 11-year-old kid. And then it switched instantly to, I will never feel this much pain ever again. I will do whatever it takes to never feel this, and I'll show you. So I had what went from feeling massive shame, which I carried with me for a long time, but it flipped as well to be motivated by the I'll show you, or be so motivated by pain and wanting to make myself feel like that would never happen again. So that carried me for a very long time. And a lot of people are like, well, that's not a very healthy motivator, but sometimes that's the only motivator. So it is something that's going to pull you out of a dark time or a period in your life that is really painful, because it did get me through a lot of things. I was like, it's okay if you can't see me now. I remember saying that. Isn't that crazy? Like, it's okay if you can't see who my soul is now. Like, I know who it is, and I'm just going to keep working. So if you can start to adopt that and not have it be from, you know, well, no, I would say definitely if you have pain, let that be your first motivator, but also know when it's no longer serving you. Start to realize when maybe that pain being a motivator has now turned into like self-loathing, and that no matter what you do, you're not going to be enough. And that's really what happened to me throughout my 20s, is a lot of the accolades that you mentioned were fantastic, but I hadn't transformed that motivator yet. It hadn't become for a healthy thing. It was still like the I'll show you, you can't see me yet. I'll show you, I'll become this, I'll do that. I'll feel whole, I'll feel complete, I'll, you know, feel great about myself when. And I kept moving that bar. It was never, oh, I did that, I'm so proud of you, look at how far you've come. And taking those moments to really say, okay, am I feeling fulfilled by this, or is this still out of the pain or the I'll show you? So that didn't happen until like my late 20s. But yeah, it turned into, oh, I want love and attention. Here's how I'll seek it. I'll just keep accomplishing, realizing that all of a sudden in my late 20s, early 30s, those accomplishments weren't exactly providing the love that I desired. And I wasn't focusing on self-love. You know, everything was external. If I get that, when I get this, that title. And then I thought, wow, I've achieved all of these things that I've dreamed of, and yet I'm still not feeling fulfilled. So what does actual fulfillment for me look like? And that's when I really set out on this journey in my late 20s, early 30s of just self-development. Like, what does it look like to be fully fulfilled for me? What would I be needing to do every day? What would my day-to-day look like, instead of I'm spending months and months and months, sometimes years, on an accomplishment that I enjoy for maybe a day or two, or max 2 weeks, and then I'm on to the next. So that's really been the journey of transforming the motivators, and also really looking at what actually fulfills a human being and makes them happy.
I love that you pointed out the balance in your motivators. And yes, pain is a great motivator. They say you either run from pain or towards pleasure. So I also love that spiritual truth of like, I'm not my body. Because if you've worked so hard to achieve all of these amazing accolades and this perfect body and these abs, and you're working out and you're eating healthy and you're still miserable, then you know there's something bigger. There's something else to incorporate in that holistic self-love. So I had that exact same epiphany. It was like I got to my smallest weight and I still, like, I wasn't happy with myself. And I came across this idea, like, what would be the perfect 24 hours for you? Just like you said, like, what would be my day-to-day fulfillment, not my long-term goals. If I get this accolade, you know, I've been a hairdresser for over a decade, and I thought, well, if I get this title, or if I make this whatever, and blah, 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 this feature, this award, then it'll be it. And I was on TV and I did all those things, and I was just like, what's next? And that's when I had to start asking those questions, like, well, if that's not fulfilling, what the hell will fulfill me? And this simple idea, what would you do in 24 hours? If you could create the perfect day, you know, they say Beyonce only has 24 hours. So I thought about it, and hey man, she's doing great. So I'm like, well, that's true. So what would I do in 24 hours? So I made a list, and it started out with waking up at like 8 o'clock, like nothing crazy, yoga, green juice, time with my husband, take my dog on a walk, read a book. Like, it was so simple, and it was free. And I just realized, like, I'm already doing all of this. So the shift for me was perspective and appreciation for what I currently was already living, you know, because I'm sure when you make out that perfect list, or when you did back then, you're probably doing a lot of those things, but it's the way that we approach it, you know?
Oh my God. I love that you pointed that out, because I was doing a lot of the same things, but I was looking at it as a means to, you know, getting an outcome, instead of, wow, this is actually keeping me like mentally healthy. Wow, this is actually something I could use for a practice and being really present. Instead, when I would go for a run, it was, I have to do this, or else I'm going to be this, or I'm going to gain weight back, or this is just what I have to get done, instead of, wow, I'm out in nature. How am I like really connected to my body? I'm doing this because I love myself. I'm doing this because I know that it makes me feel amazing for the rest of the day. How can I be more present right now? What are things I can be grateful for on this run? How can I really look around and just like start this gratitude practice for my knees, for my legs, for my arms, for what I'm seeing, what I'm smelling, who I'm encountering, like all of those things shifted for me, and it became and I do this every day. You guys, it's so easy for your humanness to come in a matter of like 1.2 seconds. So something that's so vital for me is to constantly, like, I perspective shift every minute sometimes. Just like, okay, that's not serving you. If the way that you're thinking about what you're doing is not serving you, you always have the opportunity to choose to look at it in a new way. So for me, I know that I have to work out the rest of my life, and everyone, if you have a body, should be doing some form of movement, because our bodies, we're physical, right? We're souls who have a physical body. And in order for us to experience our soul and for us to drop in, we know that we need to really move our body. You're not moving, you're not thinking right, you're not feeling who you are, your life is probably not going well. So just always knowing that in a moment, you can always shift your perspective no matter what.
Yeah, I feel like our body is our biggest indicator for intuition and gut feeling. I mean, they say your gut is your second brain. You've got two brains in your body trying to help you out, plus a heart, which, is so much more powerful than all of that combined. And so if we cut off, I feel like for me, I cut off my connection to my body when I didn't love my body. So I wouldn't feel the pain, and I wouldn't feel the pleasure either. I wouldn't appreciate when my husband would touch me, because all I could think of was, oh my God, I'm fat, don't touch me. And he one time said to me, so I'm not allowed to enjoy your body because you're insecure about being fat, but I love your body and I think you're amazing. And that was like, I was just like, oh my God. I feel like a jerk, to myself first, and then to my partner. Like, what if I've been missing out on so much pleasure because of a belief or this thought that I have? So when you talk about shifting perspective, it's about tuning into how do you feel? And if something doesn't feel right, your body will let you know. And that's when you cue your mind to say, okay, shift, elevate, go higher. What good can come from this? To find the silver lining in life,
Oh my God, what a crazy perspective shift in that moment.
I know, he totally effed me up, man. I was like, damn, dude. So I want to know, like, what you've worked in fitness for so long, and you've obviously mastered it, but you've also cultivated a holistic approach to it. So I want to know, what are some of the common myths or excuses that women come up with when it comes to loving their body or even moving it? Like you said, I think we have, like you said, we have a body, we have to move it depending on how much you enjoy, whether it's running a marathon or doing some stretches in 10 minutes, like you got to do it no matter who you are. So what are those or blocks?
I think two major common myths are all or nothing. It's like one of the biggest ones. And then, I mean, so many people go into it with this big schedule, this big plan, and this, like the best intentions, but you only have so much willpower in a day in the beginning. Like, you can expand that later on as you start your healthy habits, but they use it all up. So by the end of the week, it's like you actually don't have the willpower to go back and do what you've been doing. You literally don't. Like, it's a real thing. So, when people are like, I just can't do it. Yeah, you can't, because you used it all. You went way too hard. You went way too much in. Like, it takes a long time to build that practice of building a habit. And you're not going to go back to it if you burn out right away. You're just not, because you've created so much pain around the thought of it and how hard it was that you literally told yourself, like, nope, that's really painful. You're never going back. I think that's one of the biggest myths. Is just all or nothing, needing to like dive in like that, or it's got to look a certain way, or this is the plan you have to follow. And knowing, on the other side of that, the thing that's really pulled me through is knowing every day is different. And as long as you keep your body in motion, like, you're going to make up for it on other days. And then some days are like, yeah, they're next to nothing, but if you can keep going and keep that habit up, it's going to become your identity. And that's what you eventually want. But your actions have to prove to you that your actions reflect back your identity, not the other way around. You can't just think and be positive and be a person that works out without actually backing it up. So back it up, even if it's just 10 minutes a day. Like, I'm a person that deals with stress by walking, so go for a walk. Instead of, I'm a person that deals with stress by eating, start saying, okay, even if I went out of my house and went around the block, you're going to shift the way that you feel emotionally, and you're going to make a better decision. So teeny, I mean, I'm telling you, my life has changed in the tiniest increments ever. Like if I look over a year of what I've done, it's felt like I've done things that are so small, but at the end of the year, I'm like, wow, I really accomplished a lot because I took, X amount of time to do it. I mean, my first book really honestly took me 4 years to write. Like I'd kind of been writing it for 4 years, all to understand that I'm able to now figure out how to write a book in probably a month or less. I could probably write a book in 2 weeks, but it took me writing a book over 4 years to understand what it looks like, to be able to do that. And then also the other myth would be, let's see, I said all or nothing, and what was the other one? I don't know. I'll come back to it.
No, I think that's great. I love your idea on the all or nothing, because I think I just had a client sitting in my chair who said that I'm either all or nothing. And I think it can be a very beautiful quality in the human spirit, but the nothing part, I don't know. I think that when we go all in, like, yes, we should have that enthusiasm, but we have to be practical with the results that we're expecting. And like you said, you can't just get up off the couch and run a marathon. It takes a long time to build that energy. And we moved to the 4th floor just recently, and I tell Chris, like, okay, at the 3rd floor on this step is when I like pause and I'm like, okay, like this is where I'm at today. And every week I can go a couple more stairs and I'm getting closer to the top. And it's like, I do other kinds of workout, but climbing stairs is a new way to move my body and to utilize different muscles. And so I think it's important to just, even if you only have 2 minutes, like I'll pull my mat out if I'm like really busy in the morning and I skip my workout and I'm like, ugh, instead of beating myself up, I just immediately in that moment, throw my mat on the ground, do some stretches and be present. Because I feel like just a few minutes of real present movement, like benefits your body more than if you just were like, oh, well, I'll just do it, whatever later. So I think that's, yeah. Did you remember?
I did.
Go for it.
It's, and I love that. So this moves into exactly what was thinking is that, the other myth is like, I'm not a person I just don't like working out. They think people like it. Yeah. And while eventually you can like it in the beginning, it's not something that you've been trained to like. So you have to start, like I said, the perspective in the beginning, perspective shifting of why is this good for you? And reminding yourself all the time, what is this doing for you? And what's the long-term payoff? Because I think what happens is when we start, we just focus on, oh, this is so hard. This is so painful. Oh, I feel like crap. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, this feels so heavy. Oh, I feel so weak. If you focus on that, for sure, you're never going to want to do it again. Literally, you have to be your own coach when you do it, like your own cheerleader. Just be like, wow, I'm so proud of you for showing up. This is so good. Can you just do 5 more minutes? Can you just do 10 more minutes? Do you have it in you to try to maybe jog for 2 minutes? Because a lot of the things that we think like, oh, this is so painful, this is so hard, until you make it a habit, it's going to feel that way. And until you start shifting your perspective. But I hear that a lot from people. Well, I'm just not someone who likes working out. I just don't enjoy it. I'm like, I'm sorry, like, where does that come in with like thinking that you need to enjoy it to be doing it all the time? You'll eventually enjoy it, but it's because you have to shift how you're looking at it. Like, if you ask anyone who eats healthy now, in the beginning, they're like, no, it wasn't awesome. Like, do you really want to go to a restaurant with all your friends and be the only one eating super healthy? No, of course we'd love to be having cocktails and eating crap food. But what we've learned to do is fast forward to the outcome within the present moment. And that's one of the biggest things that you can do. This is actually a massive success hack on creating habits, is when you're in the moment, stop focusing on the pleasure of the moment, but actually bring in the pain of the outcome afterward of if you eat that food or if you don't work out. So bring in a bit of the pain and make it present. And then bring in the outcome of the positive and make that present as well. But what we all do is we just bring in the pleasure of the moment or the pain of making the better decision. And if you do that, of course, you're going to make the wrong decisions all day long. But if you actually bring in the pain of the outcome, and then if you bring in the pleasure of if you make the better choice, what happens is you can now see it and feel it physically in your body. So that's what I do with every single choice that I make. I did it this morning with meditation. I was like, do you really want to feel anxious and not connected later on in the day and wonder why you're not feeling spiritually connected again today and blame yourself? No, just do it. You'll feel better all day. So that was my immediate, okay, I'm just going to set 10 minutes and go.
My husband has this great idea. If it's going to take less than 2 to 10 minutes, like do it now. Like just do it now. And that's kind of where I developed that. Like throw my mat on the ground and don't allow my brain to win again, you know, because then it builds those habits over time. And so, like I said, even if I know I'm busy, I'll throw that mat on the ground just to stay in that consistency like you talked about. It's
I love that.
Doing a million things all the time, but it's just about keeping that momentum going no matter what it looks like for you. And one of the topics I share in Shine School is to do what lights you up when it comes to moving your body. You've got to figure out the way that you like to move. I'm with you. I go on a walk multiple times a day to clear my mind, to get reconnected, to shift my perspective because I'm outside of my home or my work, you know. It's one of my favorite things. So, you know, someone might not like running, but they love doing yoga. So you just have to figure out what that is for you. I even tried pole dancing one time because I was like trying to find like, what's that physical routine that I can do for a sustainable period that I enjoy? Because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to show up and do it. You know, just like you said, no one's like, I can't wait. I mean, my husband is that way, but he's found that that's his energetic release. And if he doesn't get it, like you said, if you don't do your meditation, you won't be as mindful and present and connected throughout the day. So I
love that you said that. And I want to add to that because it's so important that it's going to change all the time. Like my workout routine now, I give myself the freedom to let it change. Like there was basically this whole last year where I hardly lifted. And then I was like, and that was huge for me. I've always been the girl who goes to the gym and lifts. And I just had such a, to be honest, I had such a strenuous year with all new challenges. And you know, when you're doing new things, my willpower is going towards that. Mm-hmm. It's going towards making new speeches. It was going towards writing a book. It was going towards marketing myself every single day and doing all these interviews and podcasts that my willpower was so low that I had to do the thing that I could do the easiest. So for me, that was walking. It was taking small jogs, but I did so much walking, or I did a lot of Soul Cycle because I just needed to go and have someone tell me what to do and not have to go to my max. Like this whole year was just basically like, just move. It wasn't like, oh, max it out. Like, yeah, you're amazing. You're accomplishing your goals. Like my fitness level went down this year and that's totally fine with me because everything else that I wanted on my goals went up. And now I'm finally back to the place where I'm like, oh, I can have a fitness goal because I'm not using all of my willpower right now for so many new things. So that's something I want to point out for people, that if you're starting a business, your fitness is probably not going to be raging. Like you're probably going to have to just move and do what you can, like path of least resistance with some of the other things, because we can only go like 110% on 1 to 2 things. And the other things kind of have to go down a bit sometimes. It's that saying like, yes, you can have it all, just not all at once, but make sure you don't quit things that you're like, okay, well, what will my fitness be? What do I have energy for? Because I still have to move, but walking was a great way for me to just connect in general, where if I was going to the gym all the time, I wouldn't have had these massive epiphanies out on my walks for the work that I was doing. So they're always, I'm telling you, the universe, God, whatever you believe, is always looking out for you, but you have to trust. That took so much trust for me, especially having a background of being overweight. Like I was like, if I'm not lifting and doing my routine, I'm going to gain weight. That was my fear. Let's be super honest. It runs really deep, right? So for me, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to gain weight. Then what's going to happen is if I don't feel good about myself or in my body, then my work isn't going to be good and everything's going to be affected. I'm going to lose everything. That's the fear. If we really go through all of the fears of all the things we're thinking, at the end, it's I'm going to die or I'm going to lose everything. And it's like, are you really? Okay, how about you lean in and you trust and you see what could actually happen if you stayed consistent. But like I said, that takes trust, because it takes a lot of letting go of that fear in order to be like, wow, I'm still okay. I'm still not gaining weight. Okay, but it's coming. No, I'm still not. Okay, we're good. And I know that this is how people think, but they don't necessarily admit it. Like even the most like put together person is like, okay, no, I'm actually afraid of X, Y, and Z from my past.
It's true. Until you learn how to really heal those deep-seated unconscious wounds and like really learn to understand what drives you. I think we do carry that kind of like underlying fear because our ego it remembers all of it and it's doing it to protect you. Although It's not actually protecting you today. It just did back then. And so it's like, oh, well, it worked back then. Let me try it again. So we have to check back in. But
that is what like literally keeps us small. Is this worked for me once? Yeah. Well, your life is totally different. You have a lot more going on. You have different things going on. Like you're not going to be able to like, it's not sustainable to abuse yourself into becoming the person that you want. It's not. It may have worked for a little while for somebody or people, and it worked a little while for me, but it's not sustainable.
Baby steps and go easy on yourself is what I am taking from this conversation, and you can choose to change. So Lori, I just want to take a moment to thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and really talking openly about the truth. Like, yeah, we do still have fears that come up, but it doesn't mean that they rule us anymore, that we can love our bodies and love ourselves simultaneously.
Yes.
So many divine wisdoms. Thank you so much. I'd love for you to share, where can people find you? Where are you hanging out? And tell us how to get your book called A Tribe Called Bliss.
I'm always hanging out on Instagram. So that is just at Lori Harder. But then there is my website, loriharder.com. Otherwise, A Tribe Called Bliss, you can just go to atribecalledbliss.com and you can find it there.
Perfect. I'll be sharing all of those links in the details below. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate all the wisdom that you shared. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful.